Jake Morrison stood at the window of the space station, watching the blue-green planet spin slowly below them. Zarian Prime looked peaceful from up here, but he knew better. The planet was one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy, filled with deadly storms, poisonous plants, and creatures that could kill a person in seconds. "Hard to believe we're really here," Lisa Grant said as she walked up beside him. She was holding a datapad, studying the planet's surface maps for the 100th time. Her brown hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and her green eyes showed. The same mix of excitement and worry that Jake felt. "Still seems like a dream to me," Jake replied. He was a big man with broad shoulders and calloused hands from years of military service. At 34, he had seen plenty of dangerous places, but nothing like this. The Crucible Games happened only once every 10 years. For over a century, only the most powerful alien species had been allowed to compete. The Zephyrians, with their crystal bodies and energy powers. The Colliery, who could think as one giant mind. The Veilthans, with their amazing technology. These were the species that ruled the galaxy, and now, for the first time ever, humans had been invited. Alex Rodriguez walked into the observation room, carrying 3 cups of coffee. He was shorter than Jake, but had the steady hands of a doctor, and the quiet confidence of someone who had saved many lives. "Commander Sullivan wants to see us in 5 minutes, he said, handing out the drinks. "Nervous?" Lisa asked him. Alex smiled. "A little. My grandmother used to say that being nervous means you care about something. So yes, I'm nervous." Jake took a sip of his coffee and looked around the station. Alien beings walked through the halls, some floating, some crawling, some that looked like walking rocks. Each group stayed with their own kind, eyeing the others. With suspicion or disgust, the humans were getting the worst looks of all. "They don't think much of us," Jake observed. "Can you blame them?" Lisa said. "Look at us compared to them. The granites can survive being crushed by a mountain. The Neridans can breathe underwater and on land. The Colliery never make mistakes, because they share one mind. What do we have? We're here, aren't we?" Alex said quietly. "That has to count for something." They made their way to the briefing room where Commander Kate Sullivan was waiting. She was 42 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. She had commanded troops in 3 different conflicts, and earned respect from every soldier who served under her. "Sit down," she said as they entered. "I just finished talking with the game officials. Tomorrow morning we drop onto Zarian Prime, along with 28 other teams. Each team has 4 members. The rules are simple. Survive for 30 days. While completing objectives and avoiding elimination zones, she activated a hologram showing the planet's surface. The weather changes without warning. Toxic storms can kill you in minutes. The animals down there have evolved to be perfect killers. The plants are just as dangerous as the animals, and every few days certain areas of the planet become elimination zones where nothing can survive." Jake studied the map. "Objectives? Resource gathering, territory control, puzzle solving, combat trials. The specifics change, but the goal is always the same. Prove your species is worthy of respect in the galaxy." Lisa leaned forward. "What about the other teams? Are we allowed to work together?" Sullivan's expression darkened. "The rules don't forbid cooperation, but it never happens. Each species sees this as a chance to prove they're better than everyone else. Expect the other teams to see us as threats to eliminate as quickly as possible." "Wonderful," Alex muttered. "I won't lie." "To you," Sullivan continued. "The other species think we're a joke. They call us the monkey planet behind our backs. They expect us to be eliminated in the first week, maybe the first few days." Jake felt anger rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. Getting angry wouldn't help them survive. "The Zephyrians have won 3 times in a row," Sullivan went on. "They can absorb energy from the environment and use it as weapons. The Colliery won twice before that because they never have communication problems or disagreements. The Veilthans have technology we can barely understand. So why did they invite us?" Lisa asked. Sullivan was quiet for a moment. "Politics. Some species in the Federation think humans deserve a chance. Others want to see us fail publicly, so they can prove we don't belong among the advanced civilizations. Either way, we're here now. She looked at each of them in turn. I picked you 3. Because you're the best humanity has to offer. Jake, your military experience and survival skills are unmatched. Lisa, your engineering mind can solve problems others can't even see. Alex, your medical knowledge and ability to stay calm under pressure have saved lives in impossible situations. What? We're still just humans, Lisa said. Yes, Sullivan agreed. We don't have crystal bodies or hive minds or advanced technology. We can't breathe underwater or survive in space without suits. We're not the strongest or the fastest or the smartest. She paused and smiled slightly. But we're adaptable. We learn, we change, we survive. Those aliens out there are used to winning through their natural advantages. They've never faced a species that succeeds by refusing to give up. Through the window, Jake could see one of the transport ships preparing to launch. Tomorrow, they would be on that ship heading down to a world that wanted to kill them, surrounded by aliens who thought they were inferior. Any questions? Sullivan asked. Alex raised his hand. What happens if we actually win? Sullivan's smile grew wider. Then we'll have bigger problems than surviving on Zarian Prime. The next morning came quickly. Jake checked his equipment one. Last time, basic survival gear, simple tools, emergency medical supplies. Nothing advanced. Nothing that would give them an unfair advantage. The rules demanded that all teams start with similar equipment. The transport bay was full of aliens making final preparations. The Zephyrians glowed with internal light, their crystal faces showing no emotion. The colliery moved in perfect synchronization, like parts of a single machine. The granites looked like walking boulders, nearly indestructible. And in the middle of it all, for humans who looked very small and very fragile, remember, Sullivan said as they boarded their transport pod, the goal isn't to impress anyone. It's to survive. Do whatever it takes to stay alive for 30 days. Jake strapped himself in as the pod's engine started. Through the small window, he could see Zarian Prime growing larger. Its swirling clouds and dark continents becoming clearer. Somewhere down there, in forests and deserts and mountains that had killed countless explorers, they would prove what humans were capable of, or they would die trying. The pod shook as it entered the atmosphere. And Jake Morrison closed his eyes, thinking about home and wondering if he would ever see Earth again. Jake felt his teeth rattle as the restraints cut into his shoulders. Smoke filled the small cabin, and warning lights flashed red in the darkness. Everyone. Alive? Sullivan called out, unbuckling her straps. Still breathing, Alex replied, checking himself for injuries. Blood trickled from a small cut on his forehead, but he seemed fine otherwise. Lisa was already working on the door mechanism. Crash damaged the exit system. Give me a minute. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel, rewiring connections with practiced skill. Jake grabbed his pack and looked out the cracked window. Dense jungle surrounded them, with twisted trees reaching up toward a gray sky. Strange bird-like. Creatures with 4 wings circled overhead, making harsh crying sounds. The distance, he could hear something large moving through the underbrush. Got it, Lisa said as the door hissed open, hot. Humid air rushed into the pod, carrying the smell of rotting plants and something else Jake couldn't identify. The gravity felt slightly heavier than Earth's, making each step require more effort. They climbed out carefully, weapons ready. The jungle was alive with sounds, clicking, buzzing, growling, and calls unlike anything on Earth. Somewhere in the canopy above, something was watching them. First priority is shelter, Sullivan said, studying. Their surroundings, then water, then food. We need to establish a base camp before nightfall. What about the other teams? Alex asked, shouldering his medical pack. They're scattered across the continent. Some might be close, others could be hundreds of miles away. Right now, we focus on ourselves. Jake knelt down and examined the ground. The soil was black and seemed to shift slightly when he wasn't looking directly at it. This dirt is strange. It's like it's alive. Lisa bent down beside him and took a small sample. The whole ecosystem here is different from Earth. We can't assume anything works the way we expect." A low horn sound echoed across the jungle, coming from the direction of the mountains. Then another, from a different direction, and another. "Game has officially started," Sullivan said. 30 days, starting now." They moved carefully through the jungle, with Jake taking point. His military training kicked in as he scanned for threats and safe paths. Every plant could be poisonous. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every step could be their last. After an hour of walking, they found a small clearing near a stream. The water looked clean, but Alex tested it anyway with his equipment. "Safe to drink," he announced after a few minutes. "But there are minerals in it we've never seen before. Small amounts should be fine, but we need to be careful." Lisa was already gathering materials for a shelter. She broke branches in ways that seemed impossible, bending them without snapping. "The wood here is more flexible than earth trees. Can work with this." While she built, Jake explored the area around their camp. He found tracks in the mud near the stream, some that looked like hooves, others like claws, and some that made no sense at all. But he also found something else, berries that smelled sweet and fruit hanging from low branches. "Food," he called back to the others. But when Alex tested the berries, his equipment beeped warnings. "Poisonous to humans," Alex said. "The fruit, too? We're going to have to hunt for meat." Jake nodded and set off into the jungle again. His grandfather had taught him to hunt when he was young, and the military had taught him to survive anywhere. But this wasn't anywhere on Earth. He moved quietly through the underbrush, following game trails and listening for animals. After 2 hours, he found what he was looking for, a creature about the size of a rabbit, with 6 legs and blue fur. It was eating some kind of root. Jake watched it for several minutes, learning its habits. Then he set a simple trap using vines and a bent branch. It was waterproof, well ventilated, and nearly invisible from more than 20 feet away. "How did you make it so strong?" Sullivan asked, examining the construction. "The plants here grow differently than on Earth. They're designed to bend without breaking because of the storms. Once I figured that out, I could use their natural properties." Lisa wiped sweat from her face. "I also found some clay deposits. Nearby, if we need to, I can make basic tools and even simple electronics." Alex cleaned and cooked the animal Jake had caught. The sounds became louder and more threatening. Glowing eyes appeared in the darkness around their camp. Something large crashed through the trees nearby, making the ground shake. "First night is always the worst," Jake said, keeping his voice calm. "We just need to make it to morning." They took turns on watch, 2 sleeping while 2 stayed alert. During Alex's watch, he treated a small infection on Lisa's hand and checked everyone for injuries. During Lisa's watch, she improved their shelter and started planning tools they would need. During Jake's watch, he studied the movement patterns of the creatures around them and planned hunting strategies. Sullivan's watch was the longest. From just before dawn until sunrise, she reviewed their progress and made plans for the next day. When morning came, she woke the others with good news. "I monitored the communications channels last night," she said. 3 teams have already been eliminated. Corvani fell into a sinkhole. The Thaxians were attacked by some kind of acid-spitting creature. The Zalani simply disappeared. No one knows what happened to them. "And us?" Alex asked. "We're still here. We have shelter, food, water, and no major injuries. That puts us ahead of most teams already." Jake stretched and looked around their camp. During the night, Lisa had added improvements he hadn't noticed: better drainage, hidden storage areas, and camouflaged lookout points. "The real test starts today," Sullivan continued. "The first objective markers should appear soon. That's when we'll encounter other teams." As if summoned by her words, a bright light appeared in the sky above the jungle. It hovered for a moment, then shot toward the mountains, leaving a glowing trail behind it. "First objective," Lisa said, studying the trail's direction.
Out.
10 miles north of here, through some of the most dangerous terrain on the planet," Jake added, remembering the maps they had studied. "Then we better get moving," Sullivan said, shouldering her pack. As they prepared to leave their first camp, Jake noticed something that made him smile. Animal tracks surrounded their shelter, not the tracks of predators, but of the small creatures that lived in the area. They had approached during the night, curious about the humans. Other teams would have driven them away or killed them. The humans had simply coexisted. It was a small thing, but Jake had a feeling it might be important. Later, the trek through the jungle took 6 hours. Jake led them along animal paths, moving quietly and stopping often to listen. The sounds of the forest had changed since their first day. There were fewer small creatures, and the larger ones seemed more aggressive. "Something's wrong," he whispered as they crouched behind a fallen log. "The animals are acting scared." Lisa checked her makeshift scanner, built from parts of their damaged pod. "I'm reading energy signatures ahead, big ones." Hey. The trees, they could see a clearing where the first objective marker hovered 20 feet above the ground. It was a crystal sphere that pulsed with blue light, and around it were the remains of what had once been a magnificent temple. But they weren't alone. The Zephyrian team stood at the base of the temple, crystal bodies glowing as they channeled energy from the marker above. 3 of them worked together to lift massive stone blocks with pure force, clearing a path to the temple's entrance. Shof's Alex muttered, "Dot on the other side of the clearing. A team of granites was doing the end. Same work, but differently." The rock-like beings simply walked through the stone blocks, their bodies absorbing the impact without any damage. What would take humans hours with tools they accomplished in minutes? "How are we supposed to compete with that?" Lisa asked. Sullivan studied the situation through binoculars. "We don't compete the same way. We find a different approach." Jake pointed to the temple structure. "Look at the walls. They're not solid stone. There are gaps between the blocks, and some sections look weaker than others." Lisa followed his gaze and smiled. "Ventilation shafts. Drainage systems. The builders had to account for airflow and water runoff. While they're moving mountains, we go around them," Sullivan said. They circled the clearing, staying hidden in the jungle. Jake found what they were looking for, a narrow opening near the temple's base, partially hidden by overgrown vines. It was too small for the bulky granites and too crude for the elegant Zephyrians to notice. Lisa went first, her small frame allowing her to squeeze through the gap. Alex followed, then Jake, with Sullivan bringing up the rear. They found themselves in a narrow tunnel that ran beneath the temple. "This place is old," Alex whispered, running his hand along the stone walls. "These carvings are thousands of years old." The tunnel led to a chamber beneath the main temple. In the center was a pedestal with a puzzle box, geometric shapes that needed to be arranged in the correct pattern. Above them, they could hear the Zephyrians and granites still working to clear the main entrance. "Mathematical sequence," Lisa said, examining the box, "but not based on any system I recognize." Jake looked at the carvings on the walls. "What if it's not mathematics? What if it's a story?" He pointed to the images carved into the stone. They showed the rise and fall of civilizations, the movement of stars, the changing of seasons. Each symbol corresponded to one of the shapes. On the puzzle box, "Beginning, growth, peak, decline, renewal," Alex said, understanding. "It's the cycle of life." Lisa arranged the shapes according to the story told in the carvings. The box clicked open, revealing a small glowing orb. The moment she touched it, the objective marker outside stopped pulsing. "Objective complete," Sullivan said, checking her communicator. "And we're the first team to solve it." Above them, the sounds of confusion echoed through the temple. The Zephyrians and granites had finally cleared the entrance, only to find that someone else had already completed the objective. The humans slipped back through the tunnel and into the jungle before the other teams could figure out what had happened. "It was almost too easy," Jake said as they made their way toward the next objective marker. "It won't stay easy," Sullivan warned. "The other teams will adapt. They'll start looking for alternative approaches now that they know someone else is thinking differently." She was right. By the 4th day, everything had changed. The second objective had been a combat trial. Teams had to defeat a mechanical guardian using only the weapons they could craft from local materials. The Colliery team, working with perfect coordination, had expected an easy victory. But Jake had studied the Guardian's movement patterns and found its weakness: a timing gap in its defenses that occurred every 37 seconds. While the colliery tried to overpower it with coordinated attacks, Jake disabled it with a single, well-placed shot from a sling he had made using plant fibers. The third objective required building a shelter that could survive a simulated storm. While other teams built massive, heavily reinforced structures, Lisa created something flexible that bent with the wind instead of fighting it. When the storm hit, the rigid alien shelters cracked and broke. Lisa's design danced with the wind and emerged undamaged by the end of the first week. The human team had completed 5 objectives, while most other teams had completed only 2 or 3. More importantly, they had done it without losing a single team member. While the alien teams were suffering injuries and equipment failures, but their success was creating problems. On the 8th day, they encountered the Nereidans at a water-based objective. The fish-like aliens were struggling in the shallow river, their gills not working efficiently in the low water levels. "We should help them," Alex said, watching the Nereidans gasping for breath. "Help our competition?" Sullivan asked. "Help other thinking beings who are in trouble," Alex replied firmly. Jake understood. "We're not like them. We don't have to be like them." They approached the Nereidans carefully. The fish-like aliens were suspicious at first, expecting treachery. But when Alex shared his water purification techniques, and Lisa showed them how to build simple gills that worked in shallow water, their attitude changed completely. "Why do you help us?" the Nereidan leader asked, in broken galactic standard. "Because you needed help," Alex said simply. The Nereidans completed their objective and swam away. But not before sharing information about underwater passages that could help the humans reach the next objective faster. Word of the humans' behavior spread quickly among the remaining teams. Some saw it as weakness. Others saw it as a new kind of strength. The Granite's proud warriors who had never asked for help from anyone found themselves trapped in a collapsing cave system on day 10. Their rock-hard bodies made them nearly indestructible, but they couldn't dig themselves out fast enough. Lisa appeared at the cave entrance with a solution. Using the cave's natural resonance, she created controlled vibrations that safely cleared the rubble. The Granites emerged, battered, but alive. "Why?" Their leader rumbled in a voice like grinding stone. "Because leaving you to die would have been wrong," Lisa said. From that day forward, the Granites shared their knowledge freely with the human team. They taught Jake techniques for moving through difficult terrain and showed Alex how to treat injuries that would kill most beings. The game officials watching from orbit were deeply disturbed by these developments. High Arbiter Vexel called an emergency meeting on day 12. "The humans are corrupting the nature of the competition," he declared to the council. "This is supposed to test species superiority, not create some kind of mutual aid society." But the viewership numbers told a different story. Across the galaxy, billions of beings were watching the Crucible games with unprecedented interest. They weren't tuning in to watch aliens demonstrate their natural advantages. They were watching to see what the humans would do next. The games had become something entirely different, and everyone knew it. On day 14, everything changed again. Day 14 began with an announcement that made everyone stop what they were doing. High Arbiter Vextel's voice echoed across Zarian Prime through every team's communication device. "Attention all competitors. Due to concerns about the integrity of the competition, new rules are now in effect. Any team found cooperating with another species will be immediately disqualified. The Crucible games are meant to test individual species superiority, not collective problem-solving." Jake looked up from the fish trap he was building. "They're targeting us." "Of course they are," Sullivan said, checking her communicator. "We've completed 8 objectives, while most teams have only finished 3 or 4. And we've done it by working with others instead of against them." Lisa was quiet for a moment, thinking, the rules say cooperation between species is forbidden. But they don't say we can't share knowledge that benefits everyone. "What do you mean?" Alex asked. "Watch." Lisa walked to a nearby tree and carved a symbol into the bark. It was a simple drawing showing how to purify water using sand, charcoal, and cloth. Below it, she carved the universal symbol for water. "Anyone who finds this will understand what it means," she explained. "We're not cooperating with specific teams. We're just leaving helpful information where anyone might find it. Smiled. Like a trail marker system. Exactly. We'll help everyone, not just our allies. Over the next 3 days, the humans left dozens of such markers throughout the jungle. Simple drawings showing how to identify safe plants, how to predict weather changes, how to avoid dangerous animals. They weren't breaking the new rules, but they were definitely bending them. Other teams began finding the markers and using the information. The Corvani discovered safe shelter techniques. The Thaxians learned better hunting methods. Even teams that had never spoken to the humans benefited from their knowledge. But the game officials were watching everything. On day 17, Jake was tracking a large animal when he heard engines overhead. 3 spacecraft descended from the clouds, their hulls bearing the symbols of the Game Council. They landed near the humans' camp with enough force to shake the ground. "Something's wrong," Alex said, watching armed guards emerge from the ships. "Hi." Arbiter Vexel himself stepped out of the lead ship. His crystal body pulsed with angry red light as he approached their camp. Behind him walked representatives from the other major species, all looking stern and official. Commander Sullivan Vexel said in a voice like breaking glass, "You and your team are to come with us immediately." "On what grounds?" Sullivan replied, standing her ground. "Violation of competition integrity, corruption of traditional values, introduction of unauthorized behavioral patterns." Crystal Being's light grew brighter. "Your species has turned the sacred Crucible games into some kind of cooperative exercise." "We've followed every rule," Lisa said firmly. "We've completed more objectives than any other team." "That's exactly the problem," another council member spoke up. This one was a Veilthan, tall and thin, with silver skin. "You're not supposed to be winning. Your species lacks the natural advantages required for success in these games." Jake felt anger building in his chest. "So you're punishing us for being good at this?" "You're punishing us for being different," Alex added. "Hi, Arbiter," Vextel waved dismissively. "The Crucible games have maintained proper order for over 2 centuries. Each species competes using their natural strengths. The strongest, smartest, and most advanced species win. This is how it should be." "And what if there's a better way?" Sullivan asked. "There is no better way," Vextel snapped. "Your methods are primitive and disruptive. You've corrupted other teams with your cooperative instincts. Several species are now questioning the traditional competitive structure." Lisa stepped forward. "Maybe they should question it. Maybe working together is better than fighting each other." The council members exchanged looks that clearly said they had heard enough. "By unanimous decision of the Crucible Council," Vextel announced, "humanity is hereby banned from current and future Crucible games. You will be immediately removed from Zarian Prime." "You can't do this," Sullivan protested. "We've broken no rules. We've harmed no one. You've harmed the natural order," the Veilthan replied coldly. "That is offense enough." Guards moved to escort the humans to the transport ships. But before they could take a step, something unexpected happened. The granites emerged from the jungle, their massive stone bodies forming a protective circle around the humans. "These beings saved our lives," their leader rumbled. "We will not allow you to take them." The Nereidans surfaced in the nearby stream, their gills flared in anger. "The humans showed us kindness when we were dying. They deserve better than this." More teams appeared from the jungle. The Corvani, usually timid and peaceful. The Thaxians, with their multiple arms crossed in defiance. Even some Colliery drones had broken away from their collective to stand with the humans. "This is exactly what we were afraid of," Vextel said, his crystal body now glowing bright red with fury. "You've infected them with your cooperative madness." "We've shown them another way," Jake said proudly. "A better way," Alex added. The standoff lasted for several minutes. The council guards outnumbered the alien teams protecting the humans, but the aliens were on their home territory and knew the jungle better. Finally, Vextel made a decision. "Very well. The humans will be removed, but the other teams may continue competing if they return to proper competitive behavior immediately." "No," the Granite leader said simply. "We withdraw from these games. If the humans cannot compete, then the competition has no honor. One by one, the other alien teams declared their withdrawal: the Neoridans, the Corvani, the Thaxians. Even the Colliery drones refused to return to their collective. Within an hour, more than half the remaining teams had quit the Crucible games in protest. Vexthel's crystal body was now pulsing so brightly it hurt to look at him. This is disaster. The games cannot continue with so few competitors. Then maybe it's time for new games, Lisa suggested quietly. The High Arbiter turned his attention to her. What did you say? Maybe it's time for new games? Games that test cooperation instead of domination? Games that bring species together instead of driving them apart? Impossible, the Veilthan Council member said. Competition is the foundation of galactic order. Without it, there would be chaos. Would there? Sullivan asked. Or would there be something better? The council members huddled together, speaking in low voices. The humans could see they were arguing, probably about what to do with the situation. That had spiraled completely out of their control. Finally, Vextel returned. The humans will still be removed from Zarian Prime and banned from all future Crucible games. This decision is final. Fine, Jake said. You should know something. What we started here won't end just because you ban us. The other species have seen a different way of doing things, Alex continued. You can't unsee that. They'll remember what cooperation feels like, Lisa added. They'll want more of it. As the humans were escorted to the transport ships, they could see their alien friends watching sadly from the jungle. The granites raised their massive fists in salute. The Neoridans sang a farewell song that echoed across the water. But as their ship lifted off from Zarian Prime, Jake wasn't sad. He was excited. They think they've won by banning us, he said to his teammates. But they've already lost. Sullivan agreed, they just don't know it yet. The transport ship carried them away from the deadly planet. But it also carried them toward something much more important than any game. It carried them toward the future. 6 months after their ban from the Crucible games, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, humanity's newest space facility. Through the large windows, he could see ships from dozens of different species docked at the stations, ports. Granites worked alongside Neoridans. Corvani shared meals with Thaxians. It was a sight that would have been impossible before their time on Zarian Prime. Hard to believe how much has changed, Lisa Grant said, joining him at the window. She was carrying a datapad filled with requests from alien governments wanting to learn human survival techniques. The council thought they were ending something, Jake replied. Instead, they started something much bigger. The door slid open, and Alex Rodriguez walked in, followed by a group of young aliens from various species. They were the first class of the Interspecies Cooperation Academy, a school that had grown from a simple idea into a galactic movement. How did the lesson go? Lisa asked. Better than expected, Alex said with a smile. They're starting to understand that helping others makes everyone stronger, not weaker. The academy had been Jake's idea, but it had quickly grown beyond anything he had imagined. Species from across the galaxy sent their best young minds to learn human approaches to problem solving, conflict resolution, and survival. More importantly, they learned to work together. Commander Kate Sullivan entered the observation deck, looking tired but satisfied. She had spent the day in meetings with representatives from over 30 different worlds, all wanting to join what the media had started calling the Human Alliance. Any news from the council? Jake asked. Sullivan nodded grimly. High Arbiter Vextel is getting desperate. 3 more species have officially withdrawn from the Galactic Federation this week. They're joining our cooperative instead. The cooperative had started by accident. After the humans were banned from the Crucible games, the species who had withdrawn, in protest, needed somewhere to go. They couldn't return to the Federation without losing face. They didn't want to compete in games. That no longer made sense to them. So they had come to humanity with a simple request. Teach us your way. What about the new games? Lisa asked. Sullivan's expression brightened. The first Terran Crucible starts next week. We have teams from 87 different species registered to compete. The Terran Crucible was everything the original games were not. Instead of testing species superiority, it tested cooperation. Instead of elimination, It focused on innovation. Instead of proving who was best, it showed how everyone could improve together. The challenges were designed by humans and aliens working together. Teams had to solve problems that required multiple species to contribute their unique abilities. A water-breathing species might need help from flyers to reach an objective, while rock-like beings might need small, agile teammates to navigate tight spaces. Most importantly, teams were rewarded for helping others, not for defeating them. Federation is still trying to organize their own games, Sullivan continued, but only 12 species signed up. Most of the traditional powers are there, but without the species that withdrew, the competition feels empty. Jake looked out at the ships again. In the distance, he could see construction crews building a new wing of Harmony Station. Half the workers were human, half were alien, and they worked together like they had been partners for years. Any word? From Vexel directly? Alex asked. He's been quiet lately, Sullivan said. But our intelligence suggests he's planning something. Traditional powers are worried about losing their control over galactic politics. As if summoned by their conversation, an alert chimed on Sullivan's communicator. She checked it and frowned. Speak of the devil. The Federation Council is requesting an emergency meeting with human leadership. They want to discuss mutual concerns about galactic stability. Translation: they want us to stop making them look bad, Jake said. Probably. But we should hear what they have to say. 3 days later, the human leadership team sat across from High Arbiter, Vextel, and the Federation Council in a neutral meeting room on a space station between Earth and the Federation capital. The crystal being's light was dimmer than usual, and he looked tired. This cooperative movement of yours is causing problems, Vextel said without preamble. Species are questioning traditional authority structures. Trade agreements are being ignored. Some worlds are talking about revolution. Sounds like progress to me, Lisa replied calmly. This is not progress, the Veilthan representative said sharply. This is chaos. The Federation has maintained order for over 3 centuries. Your human ideas threaten everything we've built. Sullivan leaned forward. Maybe what you built needs to be threatened. Maybe order based on fear and competition isn't really order at all. You offer an alternative? Vextel asked. We offer partnership, Jake said. Real partnership, where everyone benefits instead of just the strongest. And if we refuse? Alex shrugged. Then you refuse. We're not forcing anyone to join us. We're just showing them there's another choice. The council members exchanged glances. Finally, Vextel spoke again. We are prepared to offer humanity readmission to the Crucible Games. Full participation, no restrictions. In exchange, you discontinue your cooperative programs and return these species to proper Federation authority. The humans were quiet for a long moment. Then Jake started laughing. You still don't get it, he said. We don't want to be part of your games anymore. We've built something better. Your games were about proving superiority, Lisa added. Programs are about sharing knowledge. Your system divided species, Alex continued. Our system brings them together. And your offer assumes we want to go backward, Sullivan finished. We don't. Vextel's crystal body pulsed with frustrated energy. Then what do you want? Nothing from you, Sullivan said simply. We want to continue building what we've started. We want to help species learn to work together. We want to solve problems through cooperation instead of competition. And if the Federation tries to stop us... Jake looked out the window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, dozens of species were working together in ways they never had before, learning from each other, helping each other, building a future that was better than anything the past had offered. Then you'll fail, he said quietly. Because what we've started is bigger than any government or council or authority. It's an idea, and ideas are harder to kill than people. The meeting ended without agreement. The Federation Council returned to their capital to debate what to do about the human problem. Humans returned to Harmony Station to continue their work. 3 months later. The first Terran Crucible concluded with a celebration that lasted for days. Teams from different species had worked together to solve challenges that no single group could have handled alone. Instead of one winner, there were dozens of success stories. Jake stood on the same observation deck where he had been 6 months earlier, but now the view was different. More ships, more species, more cooperation than ever before. "Think we'll ever see Vexel again?" Lisa asked, joining him as she often did. "But next time, he'll be asking to join us instead of trying to stop us." "What makes you so sure?" Jake pointed to a ship that had just docked. It bore the symbols of a Federation member species, but it was flying the flag of the Cooperative. Another world had chosen partnership over domination, because we didn't ban them from our games, he said with a smile. When they're ready to play by better rules, they're welcome to join. In the end, humanity had been banned from the alien survival game for being too good at it. So they had created their own game. With better rules and better goals, and everyone wanted to play,